Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kellie's Bead Boutique. So I've been making and teaching how to make jewelry for a very long time now. And one of the things that I hear all the time is, you make it look so easy. Well, that's because I think it is. So I'm going to take some simple parts and some simple techniques, and I'm going to teach you how to make your very own jewelry. So if you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. So sometimes I get asked where I come up with my ideas, and I get them from all over. But this particular bracelet came from a bracelet that was being worn by the HGTV star Christina Haack. Or sometimes I think her name is Christina Haack. I don't know how you say her last name. Anyway, she's on that Flip or Flop show that just ended, and she always has really cool bracelets. And one day I saw a picture of it, the bracelet that she was wearing, and it had all these dangly chains on it. And I thought, that might be something that would look really cute. So the other day I was playing around with some stones, and this is what I came up with. So that was my inspiration for the day, was what Christina Haack or however we're saying her name, is what she was wearing. So what we're going to be using today is some of our 0.8 elasticity, and we're going to use a little bit of GS Hypo cement. And I've got two different kinds of chain, and we've got these beautiful rhodonite beads. I absolutely love these ones. I think the color was just so rich. And it paired so nicely with this gray wood that we had. I thought it was such a nice combination. And I'm not much of a gold person, but it really did look a little bit nicer with a gold. So we've got these little nugget spacers from Tierra Cast. And we also have one of their, it's a little lotus charm, that's what that is. And another one of their fabulous bales. I've got a large jump ring and a small jump ring. And for tools, we're just going to be needing a pair of bent chain nose pliers, a pair of pliers, and a pair of cutters of some sort. So let's get started. First thing that we always want to do when we get our elastic is we want to pre-stretch it. I hated working with elastic because nobody ever told me that you needed to pre-stretch it, and my knots would never stay done up. So that is the key to having your knots staying done up. So I go along, like I start on one end. I just kind of started in the middle there, but I'll start on one end, and I kind of pull it. And this will give you about an extra 1/3 of the size that we started with. And I think in the kit, I'm going to give you about 10 inches, which is plenty, but it ends up more around like 14 or 15 inches once we're done all this stretching. So I'm not pulling it so hard that I'm going to break it, of course, but I just kind of stretch it out, and that just helps smooth it out. It will also make it so that you don't have any slack in your bracelet. It won't start to sag on you. And like I said before, it's going to make it so much easier to do up. So this one is pretty easy to throw together, but one of the things we want to make sure is that on the bottom we are using even numbers just because of the way that this is structured. So I'm going to give you enough beads to fit about a 7 3/4 to 8 inch wrist, but you can modify this down to any size that you want. But I do recommend when you're starting on the bottom part that you work in even numbers, and I'll show you at the end the finished part and how that all works. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start loading on some beads. So I am going to put on one of my wood beads, and I'm just going to put on a total of, I'm just going off of a sample that I had, just because sometimes it gets hard to remember how I put these together. So in that one, I'm making this one a little bit smaller because I made it for me, and then, it ends up a little bit larger. Okay, so now we're going to bring into some of our chain. Now I've got two different kinds here. They look very similar, but I wanted to have two sort of different textures. So it doesn't really matter which one you use, and you will have just kind of enough. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut a little piece about that long, and it doesn't really matter how long that is. I think I'm going to use like about just over a 1/2 inch, something like that, and then I'm going to cut another piece about the same. And the good thing is that after we've put this together, if it's not quite the lengths that you want these pieces of chain, you can always adjust them. So I'm just going to get rid of all these little tidbits of chain. So that is the one kind of chain that we're going to dangle on the outside. So those are going to be my outside pieces. And sometimes when I'm making these after the fact, once I get my prototypes done, I will actually kind of lay it out as I'm going to make it, just to make it a little bit easier. So now you're also going to get another piece that's a little bit longer. So I want them longer than that one. So I'm going to probably cut that about there. And like I said, you can adjust this to whatever suits you. Sometimes people don't like big, long, dangly things hanging off, maybe something shorter. So this is your piece. You can do whatever you want. Now this one is the one that I want to be a little longer. So I'm going to make these ones just a little bit shorter. So I'm just going to scoosh that over. I want it maybe a couple links longer, so about there. So I'm going to cut that about there. And then just always getting rid of the little bits of chain because they don't look so nice in a video. And then I'm going to try and get this one just about the same. And again, it does not matter because this is dangling from your wrist. No one's ever going to look and go, oh, look at that. She's got one piece extra. So I never worry about that kind of stuff. I just try to get it as close as I can. And it looks like I could probably cut there. Okay, so we'll get rid of all our excess chains. So this is how it's going to get laid out. We're going to have the longer one in the middle, and then we're going to have another shorter one like that. Okay, so now I'm simply going to put my piece of chain on here. So I'm just going to take one end and put my elastic right through it and run that down. So it's just going to get sandwiched in between. And I chose these chains because they are flat lengths and they will sit really nicely in here. Okay, so now I am going to put on another 2 pieces of my wood. And then we are going to make a little centerpiece. So what we're going to use is this large jump ring, and we're going to open up the jump ring with our pliers, and then you just take your other pair of pliers, and I like to use this side of the bent chain nose and give that a little twist. And so we're going to take one of the outer ones, and then one of the middle ones, and one of the outer ones, and then we're going to tighten that up. And you want to make sure that you really get this close, nice and tight, and kind of jiggle it around until it's nice and closed up there, because you don't want your chains to slip out. Okay, so now I'm going to just pop that on there, and you'll see it'll just kind of nestle in there. And then I'm going to put on another 2 pieces of wood, and then my last piece of chain. It's hard to show you on camera because I have to sort of tip this on a weird angle to get that in there, but hopefully you know what I'm doing there. Okay, so we just kind of have those sandwiched in there. And like I said, if you didn't want something dangling that much, you could definitely trim this up and make it exactly the way that you want. So now I've done 3 on one side there, so I'm going to finish 3 on the other. So you may have to test this out a little bit. I had to sort of add beads as I was making it for myself. So we will give you enough to give you a bit extra. Okay, so that's what we've got happening right now. So now I am going to take one of our nugget spacers, and I got these new stupid nails. They're my own nails. They just have gel polish on them, but I can't, even though they're not really that long, they're just a little bit longer than I normally have, and I can't do a dang thing with them. I don't know how girls with those really long nails deal with them. One of my younger staff members has these really long pointy ones. I'm like, how in the world can she do anything? But I guess if you're used to them. And then on this end, we are going to put one of our nugget spacers, and then our last bead, and then a nugget spacer. So this is what we've got working so far. So we've got all of our wood and our embellishments and our chain on there. Okay, so now I'm just going to start stringing on my gorgeous rhodonite, and we'll just put that all on there. This is really a simple bracelet to throw together, but I really like the effect that it has. And, you know, if you find some inspiration in places like shows and TV shows, things like that, movies, just, you know, use it for inspiration. I often do. Years ago, I was watching an Oprah episode, and she had on, of all things, a pantsuit that had sort of a little bit more pink than this, but it was a pink and a brown color tone to it. And I immediately ran downstairs to my workshop and threw together one of my most successful pieces just by seeing somebody in a color combination. So it was a color scheme. So you never know where you're going to get your inspiration from. All right, so now we're going to use our bail here. And we're using this kind of a bail for a couple of reasons. One is I liked the direction that it was going, so my charm's going to hang off nicely there. And then also I can use that larger hole. You see it's got a little bit of a larger hole there. I can use that to hide my knot in. So now I am going to put on my other piece of rhodonite on that side, and now I'm going to tie this up. So the way that I tie it is I just tie, like I'm going to tie my shoes, and then I bring it through one more time. And that's sort of like a surgeon's knot. And I'm pulling it fairly taut because I want this to be nice and tight in there, but I don't want it to be so tight that this buckles up. So it's about finding that, you know, sort of sweet spot. So you might have to ease back because that was starting to buckle a little bit. So there, I've eased back a little bit, and now it's got the right amount of tension. So now I'm going to do that again. And then just kind of, I put a little bit of tension down here to keep it nice and taut. And then we're just going to let that go. And then make sure you tighten that up pretty good. And then now, because we've got that big hole in our bail, we can do it one more time just so that we've got everything nice and secure. So I want to make sure I tighten that up pretty good. And then now I'm not going to put it on because it just messes with my, you know, filming and everything. But what I would do is I would just separate this, and I would put a little dab of glue on there, and I would let it dry. And that's, you know, I just let it dry for about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just give that a little trim off. And I've tied these nice and tight, so trimming there shouldn't be a problem. You should have no issues with that if you've done them correctly. And then now, once I've got to go back and put some glue on it after, but now all I would do is just pop that inside that little bail hole there. And you just kind of have to nestle it in there. And there we go. We have that tucked in there, and nobody's ever going to see that. Okay, so now I'm just going to hang my charm off of here. So what I want to do now is open up this jump ring, and this is a smaller one. We don't need that large jump ring. I'm going to put it through the end of this little charm and through the bail. So when you're using bails, you have to think about which direction the loop is going, and this one was going in the way that I wanted. So let me get this all situated, and I'll be right back. All right, so here's the completed bracelets. So now at the very beginning, I did mention that you should have an even number of pieces of your wood, and you could experiment a little bit with a little less up here or a couple less down here. But do keep this one sort of symmetrical because we have these situated in different sort of spaces. And if you are one off, it's going to look a little weird. So you're better to remove these or remove two of the ones of the wood, and then it's going to sort of fall right. You can see on this one, I left the chains a little longer, and on this one, I made them a little shorter. It really doesn't matter. It just looks really cute when it's on, and you've got that little bit of dangly fringe, and I think it looks so sweet when it's on. The other thing I do like about this bracelet is I put the charm sort of off to the side, which creates that unexpected something. Instead of dangling it right straight in the middle, which everybody always seems to for jewelry, I think it looks really sweet off the side. So if you want to get one of your own kits, you just go to my fully secure website, and I'll put a link down below that will take you directly to the site. And we have this kit and hundreds of other kits. And yes, we do ship to the United States. I get that question pretty much every week. We mail a couple times a week, and you will get your stuff as fast as the United States Postal Service can deliver it to you. So I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. It was really fun to throw together. Leave me a comment and let me know what you liked about this bracelet style. And please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.